And at this point, it's like, do I say, hey, everyone? Because nobody's watching.
That's awesome, dude.
But yeah, and then the other thing is, at some point, do I spend money on this thing to get rid of the powered by StreamYards and put some sort of, it's like
No,
people spend money on something, and it's like, if it's not making me money or getting views, I don't know how much I'm putting.
that and to be honest with you, is powered by StreamYard really that much of? I mean, everybody knows we use StreamYard, so
Yeah,
it's like having it up there is just that's it's whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's not, it doesn't detract from any conversation that's had or anything that's going on within the stream. So yeah, man.
yeah, yeah.
Listen, we got families. You know what I mean?
I got lots of family.
Exactly. Yeah, dude. For sure. For sure. Oh
So,
man.
speaking of that, let's figure out, where we came from, and that sort of thing. Like, you're apparently East Coast.
I am.
Whereabouts generally are you?
I'm in North Central Florida. But I was originally a Jersey boy, and moved down to Florida when I was I want to say 9, and then moved back up to Jersey when I was or Baltimore when I was 18, then to Jersey, and then back to Florida when I was 27. So yeah, just those just the East Coast boy stuff, man. But I've been back in Florida for a while. I'm what, 48 now. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Time
Yeah,
flies.
it does. I'm just slightly behind you on that. I'll be. I think I'm coming up on 48 in May.
Oh really? Wow. Okay, man.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice full head of hair, you lucky SOB.
Yeah, it's the Mexican side.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, dude, I'm half Greek, but the Irish side got me, so for sure.
But yeah, I you moved a little bit. Oh, geez. I moved a little bit, but yeah, I think I maybe got you beat. I moved a lot.
Oh, really?
People always ask if I was a military brat, and I was a construction brat.
Okay, I was just gonna ask. I was like, okay,
No, my dad, what I do now, drywall. Whenever work slowed down, he would be looking for the next hot spot. So we moved all over the West. Nothing farther east than Colorado, where that's where I was born. But
okay.
but like Arizona, Idaho, California, Washington. I think I might have missed Oregon, Colorado. Yeah, Nevada. So I got a lot of states covered.
Oh, dang, I was gonna say, yeah, for sure you do, dude. You got me beat by a long shot. That's
Well,
crazy.
and then within each of those states, there's a couple cities here and there within that. But growing up, moving around and stuff. When did you first get introduced to comics?
Oh, so I always loved the comic stuff. So, like as a kid, I was watching Amazing Spider-Man and his friends. But I didn't get my first comic until I was about 12 years old. My mom had just passed shortly before that, and my dad and I went on a. He took us. I guess his company that he worked for had won a free weekend. He's a mechanic. Won a free weekend at Disney MGM Studios, which had just opened up. And long story short, we were walking by one of those like freestanding booths that was selling pictures and whatnot, and there was a comic, and it was a Batman comic that I got. So around 12 years old was when I first got my first comic, and hadn't looked back since. Man, I was always doing artwork,
Yeah,
but and loved telling stories and writing stories, and then finally, seeing where these characters actually originated from within a book that I could facilitate and use those skills to create something like that,
yeah.
was just mind blowing, man. Yeah, it was crazy. From then
Um,
on, what about you?
well, I was thinking about, I don't know if you watched Mark Miller's recent interview
I
with, I
did
forget the
not.
guy's name, but the guy, he's a comic book writer. He's currently, I guess, on the Green Lantern books. But he was talking, and Mark Miller asked him about his history of comics, and the guy ended up talking about he's from a small town in Arizona that is known for the world's oldest rodeo. And as
Oh
soon as he
wow.
said that, oh, that's my mom's hometown. I grew up there for like a good chunk of my life,
Oh dude,
Prescott,
that's
Arizona.
awesome.
Yeah. So and he was talking about how it was basically a comic book desert. But I was introduced to comics there. My barber that I would go to had GI Joe comics all the time,
Oh, that's cool.
and I would look through them. But when I was a kid, it was Garfield. Like
Right.
Garfield was the thing for me, like those kinds of the comic strips. But my cousin had a. Do you remember the Nine Lives of Garfield book?
No, no, I don't.
All right, so it was a collection of alternate universe versions of Garfield by comic creators.
Dang, that's cool.
Yeah, and like there
Awesome.
was like action, sci-fi, like noir, like crime noir stories in it and stuff. And I remember just eating that thing up. I was just like, you could take Garfield and make him into all these rad things. And so that was a big stepping stone. And then Batman came out
Right.
when I was in sixth grade. Was that sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade? But and you know how people talk about the comic people were nerds,
Right.
and and it's true. Like once I got past sixth grade, it changed. But in sixth grade, we were the cool kids.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There was like four guys, and we were and all about. And here's the thing: I knew the most peripheral knowledge of Batman. And one of the guys, his name was James, was he knew it. He knew it all. And but like we were the guys who liked Batman and were, that, and we were popular, we were cool. And then I moved and that went away. But once I moved out of there, it was even then a few more years before I actually started really getting into comics. And it was, of course, I think like a lot of people, X-Men 1, Jim Lee Gatefold.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. I had so many copies of that, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I had a friend, and he was a collector. He was not a reader, and he had 5 copies of that.
Oh wow.
And he had, I think he had like 3 or 4 long boxes in his closet. And he's like, "Hey, check this out. This is going to be worth so much money." And he handed me it, and I just like instantly fell in love with the cover.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, "Can I open this?" He's like, "Oh, you can have it. I've got so many of them. I'll be rich." I opened
That's
it,
awesome.
folded that cover out, and that was it. Like that was the end.
That's so funny.
But when you got into comics, like, what was your comic store situation
Oh,
coming?
so when I got back from, because I was living in Port Orange, which is like south of Daytona, um, and we went to Orlando. So when we got back home, when I got that first comic, there was a place in town called Cloak and Dagger, and that was my comic spot, man, that I would go to.
Right.
And I bought I ate it all up. I don't have my collection anymore. I actually lost it about 15, 20 years ago, probably about like 20. Oh damn, dude, it's so crazy the older you get, how fast time flies, and it just seems like everything was yesterday. But I lost
Mm-hmm.
it about 20 something years ago, like 21 years ago.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Which sucks, but and there is, like, I think about it at least once a month. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I had gotten all my stuff from and I had some good books in there too, bro. But I'd gotten everything from either Cloak and Dagger, or I would subscribe and get like subscriptions to, like, I got the Spider-Man all sent to my house.
Yeah.
You get a job and you start, and dude, it was so cheap back then. I mean,
Yeah.
I was just buying that stuff myself and having it delivered to the house. But there was a place called Cloak and Dagger, and we had just gone to see my father recently, and I remember driving by where that place was, and telling the missus, I'm like, "That's where I used to get my comics, man. It's not there anymore." But
Yeah.
But it's yeah, that was my spot, dude. Just a dingy old dark place full of just gateways to every world, man. Speaking of which, dude, I'm gonna look up that Garfield, Nine Lives of Garfield later on tonight because that sounds awesome, dude. I never heard of that before. It's so crazy.
I mean, if and this is memory of, oh man, I was probably 8 or
Wow.
so. It might not be as cool as I'm making it out, but at the
No,
time
dude.
it was pretty cool.
I think it's. I mean, the concept itself is pretty dang cool. And dude, who doesn't like Garfield? So to see him
Yeah,
in those different situations, dude, it's cool. So I'm checking that out tonight, dude. That's awesome.
yeah. No, well, so when I was, growing up again, moved all over the place. I don't know how long it was before I found out there were comic book stores.
Oh, really?
Um, so I moved to up here to Boise. Boy, I think I was 14 or 15. No, I guess it was slightly before then. I was in Yuba City, California. And that's where my friend had the X-Men comics. And there was a local comic book store there. That's the first comic book store I went to. But um, I've heard you talk a little bit before about some of the, I guess, um, more strictly religious views on some stuff in your life that, you know, um, colored how you listen to music and whatever.
Right.
The, my parents, and I, it's, I don't hold it against them in any way, shape, or form, but they were very, very, um, very limited on what I could consume at that
Oh,
time.
okay.
It was always a kind of a up and down kind of thing. There were some periods of time where it was like, hey, let's just watch whatever and do whatever, and other times where they're like, hey, the Lord disapproves. Um, and I'll tell you the story about to give you an idea. When I was a little, GI Joes were the thing, right?
Right.
And we had a toy box full of GI Joes, and and I didn't just like, I loved GI Joes. Like the toys were for me, um, what like how kids escape into video games
Hmm.
nowadays. I would do that with them, like for hours.
Oh, yeah.
Like my brother and I would play near each other, but we wouldn't play with each other because I had my story going,
Right.
and I
So
didn't want him interrupting it.
that's so funny, man.
But one day, my dad comes in. He had read this book about how Saturday morning was perverting children's minds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So that was it.
and GI Joe's went in the garbage.
Oh no, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
But so, anyways, during the when I discovered comic books, it was kind of a peak of their protectiveness, and so I didn't really get to buy very many comics. But what I did get to buy, I got some X-Men and such. But I was able to buy a signed Silver Surfer by Ron Lim because
Oh, wow.
he lived there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so but much like you, I didn't lose my comics about probably about the same amount of time ago. I Even after growing up, I moved a lot for basically the same reason. Needing work, finding
Right.
work, and whatever. And but after a few moves, lugging around those long boxes, I was like, I can't do this anymore. So
Oh, man.
I end up giving them away and stuff. So also think about that all the time.
Isn't that funny, dude? I know. But the cool thing is, which I plan on doing at some point in time, is just getting these trades. Because
Yeah,
back to your point of your buddy who who was collecting but not really reading, I
yeah.
have a feeling you and I we were voraciously eating those things up, reading them. I don't care if I mean, I took care of them. Don't get me wrong,
Oh
but
yeah,
it was about the stories. So for me, I plan on, hopefully, I mean, I'm pushing it, but getting older. But I want to get everything I had before in trades and just have that.
yeah. I mean, here's my problem with that. It didn't take very long for me to get out of superheroes. Um, I mean, within 2 years of starting to collect, I got right into um, Concrete,
Oh,
um,
Concrete's great. Yep.
Usagi Yojimbo. You know,
100%.
getting the indie stuff, and a lot of those are going to be tougher to find.
For
And
sure.
that, um, one of my favorite all time comic artists, Paul Pope.
Okay. Yeah.
He had a Peace City Parade, which was, oh man, that must have been like 11 by 14. It was
Oh, wow.
huge and beautiful, and I don't think I'll ever get that one back.
Oh man, but the cool thing is now what we didn't have 20 years ago was the internet at the capability that it's at now.
Yeah,
So you know what I mean? So like even, there might be a possibility to find that stuff online, dude.
yeah, yeah. I sure hope so, because
I hope
it
so
was
too.
gorgeous. It was
Oh.
gorgeous. But like with um, reading comics and stuff like that, when you're young, we all want to jump right into it. We all think we're gonna do it, but you went to school, right?
I went to school for 1 year. I did. I
Okay.
went to the Kubert School for a year, but I was pretty much drawing my stuff before that. I just thought that might have been a pathway to get into the industry, which I think it would have if had I finished out my time there. But I was on my own. It was an expensive school,
Yeah.
and it just didn't seem to work out. For me. But I pretty much kept on teaching myself afterwards, buying every book I could, and just really just banging it out. Just trying to get to some place where I was happy with my artwork. And I went. I mean, there'd be years where I stopped drawing for like five. I want to say maybe even longer,
Yeah.
where I didn't do any artwork and I had to like relearn everything again. And I've been just cranking at it for the past, I want to say like 4 or 5 years now, just nonstop drawing and I feel like it's paid off. I think it's just putting the time in. Not to
Yeah.
say that school wouldn't have been helpful, and it was helpful for the year I went, but I think now it's just all the resources at your fingertips with the internet and just bookstores. Just I have a bunch of books that I bought to learn,
Yeah.
certain techniques. But yeah, it's just it's fun, man. It's well, I mean, dude, I got to finish. I've been going through some personal stuff recently, which I told you about. But I have time now to read your second issue, dude. Your first issue kicked ass, bro.
Oh, thank you.
Like for
I've only
real.
uh, thanks, but I'm still like working on changes in my brain every day.
Nothing
But
wrong with that. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. But I'll tell you this: reading that first issue, I could see stuff. Like I can, I've read other people's stuff before, and in script form, and some of it's just like, oh God, like it doesn't come to life. You know what I mean? And it doesn't read well, dude. Yours read well, and I can literally like right now, just thinking about certain scenes, I can see what I see from what you wrote down. Like you wrote a really good. I think you have a good idea. I think you wrote it really well, and it's just a vibrant, cool, unique story, dude. So yeah, I'm stoked to see where that goes, and I can't wait to read the second issue. I'm gonna read it probably tomorrow.
as
Now,
of right now, there's only a few pages of the second issue.
okay, there is okay,
I got I like, okay, I know how the second issue is going to start. Got it. And then I was like, and then I kind of like, I don't know where to go from here. And then another idea for just a short story popped up in my head,
right.
and I started writing that.
That's
So
awesome. Hey,
yeah.
nothing wrong with that, dude. Get it out of you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you gotta strike when the iron's hot, uh, even if it's something that pulls you away from what you're doing right now, that'll give you the brain power to actually maybe come up with something different while you're working with something else. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
the Tome of Reckoning is my baby, but I definitely have a bunch of other stories that I've written and want to produce one day. I don't know if I'd necessarily want to draw them,
Yeah.
but going to those stories and taking a break from the Tome of Reckoning is what helped me finish the Tome of Reckoning. You know what I mean? Like it's nice to break away and focus on something else just to give your brain some time to come up with that new scenario or new story beat. So I'm
Yeah.
stoked to see where it goes. Now, listen, I haven't checked the second issue out yet, so I'm wondering how many pages did you send me? Just two?
I think it's maybe six, five or
Oh,
six.
okay, cool, nice, dude.
Um,
I'm in a good headspace now where I can actually read it and actually enjoy it. So I'm
okay.
stoked.
Cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's that first. Here's a confession. I don't finish anything. That first issue is the first thing I've really ever stuck to
That's awesome, dude.
in my life. Like, you know, growing up, I would draw all the time, like all the time. And then it be my problem is when something begins to feel like work. I'm like, I don't know about this.
Oh no, I get that. I get that. And there was a point. Go
Except
ahead.
for the dreary everyday job I do. That feels like work, and I'm still doing that.
No, and it's funny you say that, man. I think sometimes you actually have to, because I've had the same thing where I'm like, oh, I got to sit down and draw because it's work, dude. Even
Yeah,
writing, oh, I got to sit down and write, especially writing because you're using that brain power. It's just different muscles.
yeah,
But I've come to the conclusion a long time ago where I'm like, dude, this is my world, that I'm escaping into, where it's like. It, this isn't work. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Even if I have to use that brain power and it's a little tedious sometimes, I'm like, dude, this is pretty cool. Like this is my escape. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
um, you know, if I'm having a bad day or something, I'll play some video games just to like not think about anything. Cause I'm not near the beach. I used to use surfing for that thing.
yeah,
But when I'm writing a story or drawing, uh, dude, I feel so good about that now. But I've been in the same position you were, and where I'm like, ugh, like I don't want to finish this or this or that. But now I'm just at that point where I'm like, dude, this is pretty cool to, you know, like we were talking, I love movies, I love games, I love music, all that stuff.
yeah,
And it's sometimes now I'd rather just escape into my own world. So it doesn't feel like work anymore. So I think, dude, I think with your story that you got, at least the one I've read, you'll get into that rhythm because it looks like it's going someplace cool. So I think that'll be a place you'll escape to comfortably and willingly. I think sooner than later.
yeah,
So
yeah. I'll tell you this too: the mythology um, is so um, different than we're in Western civilization where Hellenistic and Roman influences. So all we get, growing up is really the Greek and the Roman mythology,
exactly,
and then some Nordic stuff here and there. But I mean, we're right next door to Mexico.
brother.
you
Indeed,
know,
indeed, yeah,
it's like half of my bloodline.
yeah, for sure.
And I don't even remember, but looking into it, why I started looking into it, but it's just so crazy and dark.
Oh yeah,
And, and that's really keeping me excited. Like, I will daily kind of listen to something or try to read something. And that's like, okay, I want to keep going with this. I want to
right.
delve deeper into these characters. And, it's so I'm still excited. So that's good.
That is good for sure. And that's one of the things that had me excited about reading it wasn't treading the same ground. It felt like something new. It was a breath of fresh air. Do you know what I mean? It just felt
Yeah.
like I was actually discovering something new. Which I think there's so many different mythologies out there. Going to your point, that go beyond the Greek and
Yeah.
Roman and Nordic stuff, man. That it's just there's a whole world out there, dude. It's like give us something different, And
Yeah.
even me being a Greek dude, Greek and Irish. I'm like, oh, I don't want to tap into that stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's been done, dude. It's like
Mhm.
it's there's so much other stuff out there that can give your story a breath of fresh air that most stories don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
even my name, dude, I'm not even using that in the book. It's like
yeah.
using the god of wine.
Speaking of like how much, I know there's a lot of horror movie influences, but like how much like research, history, all that sort of things is going into the Tome of Reckoning.
Oh, dude, a lot, bro. It's like that meme where the girls, like, the guy and the girl's in bed, and she's saying, "What is he thinking about?" He's thinking about another girl. No, he's thinking about the Tome of Reckoning. Like the story that I've, I mean, so I was with a girl, years ago. What was it, over 20 something years ago now, who was like, the girl I lived with or whatever. But every night, dude, I would be up in bed just thinking about the Tome of Reckoning, just thinking about it. And so much research too, dude. Like I can't tell you, which some people find it tedious. I love that stuff because you just
Mhm.
find so much cool stuff. A lot of research into, ancient history, different civilizations, myths all over the world. So I know I'm just giving like a vague answer, but it's just so much research I've done for this story, that pays off, because I can tell, with like your story that you did research, and it was just one issue, but I can still tell there was research done, and I
Yeah.
think it pays off, and hopefully it pays off in my book. But yeah, it's just I can't tell you how much. I mean, there's like a whole bunch of you know papers that I have in filing cabinets that I'd handwritten while while just scouring the internet. So before Jewel and I got together, I was single and for about 4 years, man. And it was a conscious effort just to be by myself, do my thing, literally just cut everything off,
Yeah.
except for that type of stuff. And I think that that's when I really just got like psycho with all like the research and whatnot. But that gave me the time which I look back on fondly. I love the family, and I'm stoked to have them around. This sounds like I'm going in a negative direction. I'm not, but if I didn't have that time before I started the family to really just focus on myself and be stoked with being able to sit at home by myself and
Yeah.
figure all the stuff out, I wouldn't have time now. You know what I mean? There's no way. How
Yeah.
it is. The kids running
Yeah.
around and stuff. So I got toddlers, so it's
You
crazy.
you hear the plane going over?
I don't.
Okay, good. They fly right straight over this place. But yeah, I understand that. Like when I my first marriage, I should have just, you know, um, those memes or whatever that go around. They're like, if you can go back and just say 3 or 4 words to your, 16-year-old self, what would you say?
Right.
Mine is comics, guitar, learn them.
That's awesome, dude.
Like to the express like only them. Like I've told my stepsons, women are great, but like if you have a dream, focus on that.
Oh yeah,
Like
100%, dude.
get that down, because if you get that down and you can make a living off of that, that will also be a very helpful thing when you do get a girl.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that was part of my problem. Was I was chasing that rather than focusing on stuff, and that's why I took that 4 years. I was like, oh, dude, what am I doing, dude? So I tried to make that time, but you're absolutely right, man. It's just all that stuff will come. But I think if you can focus on what your passion is and actually healthily make that your driving force, then yeah, dude, focus on that, especially at a young age, because it doesn't get any easier the older you get, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it is helpful for me. My kids are older, so it's given me a little more freedom. Uh,
Right.
my son still needs a lot of attention, but even then, having his sisters be old enough to help out to watch him, my wife to help out and watch him, so I
That's all.
can kind of take breaks and do that. So sit and write or go and study or something, is helpful.
That's awesome.
But um, toddlers, dude, at your age.
Bro, I know. I mean, and it's so funny because my dad, without doing it on purpose, I'm following in his footsteps, dude. My dad's 95 right now.
Yeesh.
Yeah, that's what I said. So he started late as well. And it's just one of those things where it wasn't a conscious thing to do. It just happened. It's just so funny because, yeah, dude, I mean, I got a 4-year-old and she is awesome, but she is a spitfire, dude.
Yeah.
And then I got she's my second one's what, 9 months old, I think now.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's mayhem over here, dude. It's mayhem in a great way. I love it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But it is what it is.
Yeah. I went through that, and kind of, kind of glad that I'm through the other side, but at the same time, they're beautiful when they're small. There's just,
Oh yeah, for sure, for
but
sure.
and they're malleable. Like
Oh yes,
my oldest is all emo and screamo and punk.
that's awesome.
So my youngest is not. She has rebelled against the good music. Uh,
Oh no, so funny. But
but
that's cool too because you get to see them go their own path, man. So I'm excited to see what my kids do because right now it's what is it, Paw Patrol and Bluey and all that stuff. But I'm really interested to see where the musical tastes go, how far away they're going to stray from dad,
yeah, so
or close.
yeah, let's talk about a little bit of music too, though, because on X, Twitter, whatever it's called, you've shared a couple things, and it's like, yeah, I get that. That's right up my alley. Like, what what shaped your musical taste growing up, and kind of where, not to lock anyone in a genre of music, because
Right.
I'm not necessarily, but where do you lean towards? Where do you guide yourself to?
Oh, so I had an older brother. I still do. He's knock on wood. I have an older brother, so when everybody was listening to like New Kids on the Block, I was listening to like uh, uh, The Cure, Depeche Mode. Like as a young kid, Front 242. So a bunch of like new wave stuff. And then I found punk rock. Some kid gave me a tape back in the day, and then I formed my own you know taste of music, probably like 13, 14. I was listening to Fugazi and Minor Threat, and then it just led to everything else where I was just a huge punk rock fan. I mean, I love hardcore, I love hip hop, I love it all. Not really a big country guy, not just wasn't in my wheelhouse,
Yeah.
but no, dude, like just playing in punk rock bands when I was a kid. I played in a punk rock band about 20 years ago. Is it 20 years ago? About 21 years ago with Patrick Parnell. I don't know if you know him from X. He's an artist and does like Johnny
Oh,
Phantasm and
oh yeah,
a
yeah,
bunch of stuff. So that's who I went to school with. I met him at school, at the Kubert School,
yeah. Okay.
the first year there. So punk rock is still in my blood, man. I mean, just love it. It's just a form of music. Those blast beats I love. Uh, yeah, I mean everything from Lagwagon and the whole Fat Records phase to like to you know just everything. Fugazi, Saves the Day. Just I mean I could start naming
Everything
off. Yeah, dude, everything. You know what I
kind of
mean?
directly within and adjacent to
A
punk
hundred
rock.
percent, a hundred
Yeah,
percent. I mean, going to shows as a kid all the time and seeing, Agent Orange on their last show before they got back together again, and just seeing that was just the scene that I fell into in love with, man. And I try to put some of that into my book as well. um, uh, but yeah, just a huge punk rock fan, man. Just love it. Just still gives me that energy today.
yeah, yeah. Did you like? Hey, well, let's go back to the mixtape or the tape the kid get. Do you remember what was on it? What was the?
Oh, there was it was Operation Ivy. Who else was on it? It was Operation Ivy. It was full Operation Ivy on one side, and then the other side was like a mix between like old Green Day. What else was on there? Fugazi. Um, what else was on that side?
Hmm.
Minor Threat.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
Pretty much a mix on the other side, but Oppa Ivy was on the one side, and Oppa Ivy does not get enough love, I think. In modern, I mean, everybody always talks about Rancid, but Oppa Ivy
Yeah.
to me just blows them away, dude. I just love Operation Ivy, just so damn good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still have my CDs and my tapes from back in the day that are, they're a little scratched up, but still play them in the car. They still work.
I'm trying to get back into picking up CDs and cassettes and stuff because it's that fog that is the internet. Like I don't trust it enough still.
Oh yeah, no,
Like
I'm with
it's
you.
just gonna go away at some point. I'm gonna lose all my music.
100%. Yeah, because you don't even own it now.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because I never really took great care of my CDs, and
Mhm.
I have this car that I had that just broke down not that long ago, and I left my CDs in there, and I didn't know that CDs. I don't know what the hell. I'll have to look it up, but like the CD part, the music part, is like disappearing on there,
Hmm.
just because I left them in the car for so long. I don't know why.
Maybe
So I've
the
lost.
heat
I
in
I was
there.
thinking the heat, or I don't know what the heck it is, because you got to figure I left them in the car before, but I haven't been in the car, so maybe the humidity,
Hmm.
something about it, has messed up so many of those CDs, so now they're gone. But I'd like to like recoup that now too, just because it's just nice to have those, dude. Like,
Yeah.
even like on even when you pay for Spotify, which like I just canceled recently,
Oh yeah.
when a song goes from one to the next quickly, like on a CD, for some reason there's still a pause on
Hmm.
Spotify. Do you know what I'm talking about? How like
Yeah.
some songs are like lead into the next one, and
Hmm.
there's a pause. You're like, oh, and that's without the commercials. That's just the way it has set up. So yeah, I think traditional media is still king. You know?
And there's a certain magic, certain connection that's lost. I don't know if any of like my stepsons, my kids, maybe my kids, because I did kind of um, when we would go on road trips and stuff. There was very little talking happening in vehicles. It was I would put on an album, and we would listen to the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Um, but I don't know if a lot of kids nowadays know what that is to put an album in and just live through it,
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
and find those high spots, the low spots, and
Oh
then you
yeah.
get to the end and and you sit and stew in those feelings for a minute.
Oh yeah, for
you
sure.
know?
I mean, to that point, and the smell of
Mhm,
tape cases, dude. I mean, like the old tapes used to have like a smell to them. Like it was like
mhm.
almost it was more than just the it was everything. It was
Yeah,
there was almost like a rosy smell to some of the tape cases that I remember, like the old jackets. So that's just a whole experience in itself. You can't smell a Spotify list. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah. Opening up the liner notes is
oh
just
yeah,
and sometimes you open it up and there's no lyrics and there's a little bit of disappointment there,
oh
but
for sure, for sure.
then whatever especially when whoever their graphic designer was and put it together, if they were good and it just added to the experience,
Oh yeah, yeah.
um Radiohead's OK Computer,
Right.
that
Yep.
that great liner notes just really connected to the album. And then you get those special things where you open up the disc and there'd be a DVD. What's on the
Oh
DVD?
yeah, that was sort of cool too, man. Yeah, but you're like, oh, dude, there's like a live show on this too. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know if kids really get that anymore. They get that experience,
No, for sure.
and how much
Excuse me.
more engaging it is. I celebrity popularity doesn't affect me, but I knew a lot about the Smashing Pumpkins, not because I cared about like Billy Corgan and stuff, but
Right.
because um, at one point I was collecting as much shit about them because I wanted their music,
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
Um, and the same with other bands that came along, and um, having those things, it really does. I mean, it really is something that I don't know if it's I don't think it's a good thing that kids don't have that experience anymore.
I'm with you. No, I think a lot of that stuff. And look, I mean, who knows what their kids are going to have later on? So it might even
Mhm.
be different. I think we're the old folk now, which is
Yeah.
crazy to think about. But to that point, like our upbringing was so different, dude. Like from the music to, I mean, we didn't have cell phones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to be like tracked. Like it's so much like a police state now. And I don't mean, I mean just in a sense
Yeah.
where uh uh everything they do is tracked online. It's just not that same freedom that you have. Like you said, you put on that tape in a dark room, in your house,
Mhm.
in your bedroom, and you're just listening to it and you're living in that moment. It wasn't because you could be so easily distracted by, hitting skip to like, some other band, or, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
or being interrupted by some commercial. It really is different. And I agree. I mean, it's something that I think is missing, and I don't know
And
if,
I think it also as an investment of not only your money,
right.
when we were kids and teens, we'd scraping together, $12 to buy an album,
Yep.
and then you go buy it, and then you'd have to sit, and you wouldn't. It wasn't just, like you were saying, it wasn't, you couldn't just skip, or you couldn't just flick on your a song and listen to it for free or whatever.
Right.
You were invested in it. It was something that you put your work into, making this money to go into the store, buying this album, and you wanted to get something out of it.
Oh
you
yeah,
want
for sure.
to get, you wanted to get life out of it, and and when it hit, oh man, when an album hit just right, nothing better.
Oh, for sure. And a lot of them did, man. I remember one time that I went to the record store as a kid and I went to go buy Fire Hose, a Fire Hose tape, and
Mm.
the guy was like, "Yeah, it's over here." And I didn't look at it until I left, but I ended up buying Firehouse, which was like that hairband. So I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Oh shit!" And I already opened it, so I couldn't return it. I couldn't do this and that. So that was definitely one that didn't hit for me. But back to your point about the Pumpkins, dude. When Gish came out, oh,
hmm
dude, from beginning to end, what a great album that was, dude. So good, dude. The Pumpkins were. I had a buddy who used to just eat up going to the record store and even ordering online, or not online, ordering through mail, um the international stuff that
yeah,
you couldn't get here. So like there'd be like so many, like he would just have all these CDs and tapes and stuff from overseas,
yeah,
from the Smashing Pumpkins. Dude, they were so good, man. So
hmm
good.
yeah. My
uh,
I had a friend. His name was Nick. Exact same thing. He the rare Japanese LPs,
yep. Yep.
the live recordings.
Dude, that's so funny. My buddy Matt was the guy, was your buddy.
Yeah.
And I think we probably listened to the same stuff, dude. That's such a trip, dude. Yeah.
I'll tell you what my first album. Again, this goes back to the kind of sheltered life, but my first album was Siamese Dream that I
Oh
bought
wow.
with my own money. And back out here, we had a chain of stores called Hastings.
Okay.
Hastings were the most magical stores ever to exist. You have your Blockbuster, you have your Barnes and Noble, you had your Sam Goody. Hastings was all of them, and comic books.
Oh, that and comics, dude. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That is a
it
magical
was.
place.
I would go there just to walk around. It was just the best place in the world. But when I was, oh man, I don't even know what year that came out, Simon's Dream, and but I went in there,
94, 93.
yeah, somewhere around there,
I
yeah.
think, yeah,
And
93. Yeah.
I went in there, and I was like, man, I just really want. I knew it was coming out. I had Gish. Uh, my friend had recorded it onto a cassette, and I listened to that. Just Not Rhinoceros was my
Oh
song,
yeah. That's
and
awesome.
and Simon's Dream's coming out. Oh, cool! I'm gonna go. Have my mom. She's gonna take me down there, and we get down there, and I showed it to her and prayed she would not see Silverfuck
Oh no.
on the back. just glance at it, please. But she, looked at it and she saw it and she looked at me sideways. She goes, "I guess it's just one."
Oh, that's
So,
cool, dude.
so yeah, I went home, listen to that, and yeah, just that was one of those albums that hit. Even Siamese Dream hit. Not Siamese Dream. The one after the double
Was that Melancholy and the Infinite
Melancholy.
Sadness?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that
Listen.
was a good one too, man. Yeah, I think after that I might have stopped listening. Not just, sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, those first three, dude, were, and I mean, dude, Siamese Dream that was a powerhouse when that came out, dude.
Hmm.
So good. It's really funny to think about because they were huge and then all of a sudden just disappeared, man.
Yeah.
It's just it's I know they just released something new. I haven't heard everything off it.
Hmm.
But yeah, dude, that was the band. Dude,
Yeah.
such a good sound, man. Just everything about it, that guitar crunchiness to
Yeah.
Corgan's, airy but still growly voice. And yeah, dude, insane. Do you ever get to
And
see him live?
oh no, no. My I think my brother did just a couple years ago out here. They came through maybe last year, but yeah, I didn't get to see them. I did watch a lot of their live streaming last year, the year before.
Oh, okay.
They did a lot of live streaming, but
Oh, that's cool.
still not the same, as being there. And I don't know that I'm not a crowd person.
I feel you.
So like going, I've been to a few shows, but when they're smaller, I would have loved to have seen them when they were just like starting out.
Oh yeah, dude,
You
for
get to
sure.
a certain level, and it's just too much.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I used to love the punk rock shows where huge pits and this and that, and
Mhm.
um, but yeah, now I was never a crowd person anyway, but I think the music let me escape into that.
Yeah, yeah,
But especially nowadays, like, nah, dude, I'll just like I was watching your MXPX stream that you had posted up, and I was like, this is
yeah,
perfect for me. The kids were dancing. I was in there singing. Dude, it was awesome. It was just like I got the crowd that I want within these
yeah,
four walls.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I mean, I still like to. I'd still like to get out. My this past year, I wanted to go see what's the now I can't remember the name. Interrupters.
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, they were playing here with I don't remember who, but and I wanted to see them because they seemed like a fun band to see, and I got the wrong day of when they were playing, and
Oh
it broke my
no.
heart because I haven't been to a show for 2 years now or
Oh
something.
wow. Wow.
And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go see the show. It's gonna be great. And then my daughter texted me because she bought me the ticket, and she's like, "Hey, did you go?" I'm like, "That's next week, or is it?"
Oh
Yeah.
no, bummer, dude.
Yeah, but yeah, I like love going to shows. You know, what was your first show you went to?
Oh, first show I went to was In Excess. I think it was for Kick.
Nice.
Yeah, so my brother had got me tickets to because he had gone to to the Listen Like Thieves tour, which was like a couple of years before. Or it was like a year before, I think, because they just pounded that album out. Um, and then went to go see Kick. So that was like my first show was Kick.
How old were you when you saw In Excess?
Ooh, 10 maybe?
Oh,
10,
so
11, maybe 11, 10 or 11, I think. I'm trying to think. I gauge everything by like when my not to be morbid, but like when my mom passed. I can't remember if
yeah.
she was alive or not. But I think it was around like 12, maybe 11 or 12, something like that. I saw them. Uh and it's funny because like years later, NXS stopped doing um big because I'd seen them a couple of times after that as well. And I want to say about 10, 15 years later, they were maybe less than that. They were playing small clubs. And this was
Yeah.
when I was living in Baltimore. My brother was like, uh, told me the wrong day to your story. So I didn't take it off. He's like, dude, you can get it. I'm like, you told me the wrong day. And I guess he had died like shortly after those shows. So I would have gotten to see them. I mean, it's selfish, but I would have gotten to see them in a small club. Um, uh and and then probably would have been the last time. So but yeah, dude, yeah, NXS was my first show. What was yours?
Oh man. Technically, when I was a kid, I probably saw like I don't know, Sandy Duncan or
Eh,
Carmen or some Christian.
so many people would be like, I don't know who that is. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Sandy Duncan. That's so funny, dude. That's awesome.
But when I was uh, living, boy, what was it? Actually, there's a town about 2 hours away from here called Sun Valley. It's world famous. All the rich people live there. You know, your Demi Moore, Bruce Willis. They have like one of the, secret meetings of all the rich folk.
Right.
Oprah sets up, happens there.
That's funny.
But I was living up there, and I drove down to another little town and saw a couple of little Christian punk bands, Noggin Toboggan.
I don't think I've heard of them. I know
Oh,
Craig's Brothers, one of the Christian punk bands I
yeah,
know.
I did Craig's brother a
Yeah, they
lot.
sound like Lagwagon, dude.
Yeah,
Pat
yeah.
turned them on to me. That's
But I
so
saw
funny.
Noggin Toboggan, and I think it was Sick of Change.
Okay.
And one of the guys from Sick of Change split off and went and did oh man, another he did a Rufio.
Okay, yeah.
He was in Rufio, so a very similar sound to Rufio.
Oh, that's funny. That's awesome.
But it was like there was like 20 kids in there, just a bunch of nerdy Christian kids just bouncing around.
Hey,
And
man,
then
as long as it was fun.
yeah, it was really fun. And then I think the next one was MXPX. And then it was a long time before I saw anything again. And then um, my brother, out of the blue, he really loved the Avett Brothers.
Okay, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
And I was like, they're all right. They're okay.
Right.
And he's like, hey, you got to come down to Boise. And I bought you tickets, so you can't not come see the Avett Brothers. And I went down there, and it was a life-changing experience.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I was seated at a table. It was nice and calm. And then they came out and they played a song. The first brother came out with a guitar, lone spotlight, started playing a song, and then halfway through the song, there's a line about, um, I wonder which brother our father loved more.
Oh man.
And the other brother comes out and starts harmonizing. First song, I started crying.
Dude, yeah, for real, dude.
I cried 3 times during that show.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's that's a moving experience. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful, pretty
Dude,
amazing.
I to think you were like, dude, I'm not gonna go check this out.
Yeah,
Man.
exactly.
Whatever. You're like, oh, I love it. Oh, it's
Yeah.
so funny, dude. And I'm sure that hit you too because you're there with your brother. So you're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just that emotion coming out, dude. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was. I've seen them a couple times since. One time was, I had my new wife and my 3 girls, and so that was a different experience.
Right.
Getting to see my daughters enjoying music like that was
That's cool.
really rad. And then I saw them another time, but it was just so Sun Valley once again. Like I said, it's a lot. There's a lot of money up there, and people went there not knowing. They just bought the tickets, and the tickets were expensive, and they just ruined the show for me. Like,
oh really?
Yeah. So I had to buy tickets in the grassy area, not in the seats down in the bowl. So I'm sitting in the grassy area. Got there, an hour ahead of everyone, and got a nice view of the stage. Music starts. Everyone from the back rushes up, lines up in front of everyone else, and starts dancing hippie white people dancing.
Oh no, dude! The whirling dervish and all that crazy stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so that was like I didn't even make it through halfway through. I'm like, I can't watch this anymore. I have a nasty habit of not being able to keep comments to myself in situations like that. My wife says it's because I haven't been punched in the face yet. But this my size helps me not get punched in the face and be
Right.
able to say certain things out
So
loud.
funny, dude. Hey, dude, if you got that freedom, do it, dude. That's so funny. I've been punched in the face and I still I'm
Nice.
still in the same boat you are. Well, I'll still say stuff. I don't think it would have stopped you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's awesome.
But so yeah, I mean, musically, like it, yeah, it does sound like we have a lot of similarities. And I wonder about how much is just people of our age, you know.
Yeah, I think that too, but like I mean, there's a certain group of people our age, but like when we watch, I don't know how you feel, but like when I watch movies that are like playing songs that I knew, from that era, I
Mhm.
was living a different era. Do you know what I mean? Like when you watch like a movie that's like playing like, some 80s song, I
Yeah.
wasn't listening to that stuff in the 80s. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't listening
Mhm.
to like the stuff on the radio. I was listening to like, I mean, not that like, the new wave stuff was like so underground, but it wasn't like really popular. But
Yeah,
even
yeah.
the punk rock stuff, like I mean, like my youth songs that really hit for me are stuff that that a lot of people, unless you're like in our circle of people that listen to that type of stuff, because we that wasn't a huge portion of the town that was going to those punk rock shows. It was the
Yeah.
Outcast, and so when I really feel like talking to somebody of our age who was like, oh, I loved, Rick Astley, or, I mean, whatever. I'm just throwing
Mhm.
names out there. Like, I was listening to totally different stuff, man, where it's like, um, that's the stuff I'd love to hear like in a movie, but you're not
Yeah.
gonna, just because it wasn't popular. So I think, no, I think we were in a clique that was not so well known. So it's actually sort of cool that we have that same sound of an upbringing. There's a
Yeah.
guy on X2. I think you might talk to him too. Stephen Baroni, I believe is the
Yeah.
name. He's in the same wheelhouse as us with like a lot of that stuff, man, which is sort
Yeah.
of cool. So it's like, oh man, that's awesome, dude. I mean, we
Yeah.
we probably would have been going to the same shows together had we lived in the same town. So
What, like, how young were you when you kind of got? You had an older brother, but like, when did you get introduced to like the punk
oh,
scene?
I want to say like 12, probably around 12, 13, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
around
because
12 or 13. Yeah, I was going to shows like around 13, 14.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
kind of I kind of came the long way around to it. Like when I was growing up, it was very much pop music. Like
right,
we um, MTV, was just starting up when I was a kid,
for sure, dude.
and my I don't I grew up really grew up poor, but
Right,
at some point we had cable.
right.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know
That's
how.
awesome.
But we had cable, and my mom would. Uh, I don't know. It was Friday night. Maybe they would have their top video countdown. Right.
Hmm.
She would record it overnight, and then on Saturday morning, wake up. Me and my brother would watch our cartoons.
Excuse me.
At a certain point, she would cut us off, go to the grocery store, come back home, and she would start her Saturday routine and would play the videos, the tape that she recorded overnight.
Oh, that's awesome for her.
Yeah, while she was cleaning the house.
Oh, that's super cool, man.
And so, like, that all that music just got into me. Tears for Fears, Madonna, like all of it. That was really the soundtrack of my childhood. In particular, like um, there's a song, "I Can Dream About You." Do you remember that one? I can
Dream
dream about
about
you.
you.
That
That
one,
one.
I
I
hear
can.
that.
Is it I can dream about you? Or is I've been thinking about you?
No, it's the one that's like moving sidewalks,
Oh,
felt the
dude,
tape under my feet.
bro, that's a
You know
great song.
that?
So
Yeah.
here's
So,
my when go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
but that one, like, I hear that, and all I picture is little, 7-year-old me on a hot sidewalk playing with GI Joes in Arizona.
That's awesome, dude.
You
That's
know.
awesome. So it's when I said so the sounds of my youth were those songs. That's what but I'm a music guy. Like I
Yeah.
I loved singing. I loved doing all that stuff. I still could, if you played on the radio, I'm still singing it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Dude, that
Mhm.
stuff still that's a great song, dude. Yeah, the moving sidewalks. What's that one? Dude. Remember Simply Red?
Oh yeah,
Dude, yeah, all those songs are great, dude. Yeah, no, I still love all that stuff. That
yeah,
still has but it's just, I just mean like, there was it's just an offshoot where, I have the where we just had this other part of us, that people don't know those. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
just,
yeah.
but yeah,
And
dude, I love that stuff, dude. Yeah, for sure.
but and it's what's that? Always makes me wonder what's that thing about you know. I ask my wife constantly, like, why do I like the things I like? Like
Right.
what was it in the Pumpkins or later on uh, the Impossibles or some other like punk little pop punk band that I was like I need to listen to this that
Hmm.
that nobody else has heard of. Oh, who's the
Right.
Impossibles?
Right.
Like, um, and it's the same thing with like comics. What is it the thing that gets people like me and like you to break off from the mainstream and look for the little guys, the you know and you know be that like the indie scene
I think it's
of.
the innovation. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Where at least that's my thought, is that it's the innovation of sound and story ideas that you're not getting from a mainstream. Look, I still love mainstream stuff.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, but
absolutely.
it's just I think there's just something cool, and there's also something cool about, how and this might, I know this is how a lot of people feel, where it's like it's special to you because nobody else knows it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, and there's also that part of you where it becomes big and you're like, oh man, you know what I mean? Like I knew.
yeah.
So I think it's part of that, but I also think that there's just something going on in those little offshoots that isn't happening in the mainstream, whether it be sound or story. There's just something cool that you can do in that little pocket of those universes that you can't necessarily do for mainstream audiences,
Mhm.
which that's just what I'm thinking. But
I also I wonder about how much um like of how much of a personality, a contrarian personality, leads to that sort of thing too.
oh yeah, for sure.
You know,
I think you're right.
just the I don't know, being a teenager and just looking at everyone going, oh, you like that? Ugh.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure, for
And
sure.
trying to find the things that they didn't like, like just. But and it's, music with comics. It was like that for a while. Like of course I like a lot of mainstream stuff. Mainstream music nowadays, no,
Yeah, right,
hardly any of it.
right,
Hardly any of it touches the soul.
right, right, for sure.
But growing up, mainstream, the MTV stuff, like I said, and then even into the '90s, you had the alternative stuff was pretty mainstream at a certain point,
Oh, for sure, for sure.
and it was tough to stick to it. I think that's when I started moving out of that into finding the punk stuff and other indie kind of styles.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's fun. It's I just the story, the short story that I'm working on right now is actually it has a lot to do with music,
Oh, cool.
and I'm struggling to find a song. There's a the kind of the end of the story. I need to pick a song that works because I'm gonna have it in the scene written so
Right.
people know what the character's listening to, and I'm like, man, there's so many options, so many options.
That's
But
funny, man. There's a song in issue 5 of the Tome of Reckoning that fits a scene, and it's a New Order song.
Nice.
And it's during a very violent scene. I can't think what the name of this. I'm terrible with song names.
Yeah.
But it's essentially their ghost story song. I don't know if you're familiar with New Order at all.
Just tangentially on their popular side, you know.
Okay, yeah. There's what the hell is the song called? Uh, I can't think of what the song, but it's oh damn, I got to look it up now.
Yeah. When if you figure it out, you have to send it to me.
I
So
will. I'm going to send it to you because it's the lyrics are creepy because it's essentially about um a soldier coming home and seeing his wife, but his wife doesn't see him because he's dead, and it's just like it's but just playing that and I've always wanted to do this scene. And it's just yeah, it's that's a great yeah. It's just sort of cool to have those two loves of ours mix into into one medium. So yeah, for sure, I'll send it to you tonight.
yeah, nice. Who was that? That I think you probably ran into him on X as well. But one of the indie comic creators. He has a playlist you can subscribe to on Spotify that is his comics playlist.
Oh, dude, I know who you're talking about, but I can't think who it is.
And I
Uh,
love that. I love that idea.
oh, 100%. That's a great idea, dude.
You
For
know,
sure.
I mean, I'm like every couple days or whatever, I'll share my playlist
Yep.
as a jam, to for people to join in. And every day I'm like, come on, somebody join. But
So funny.
I know that not everyone has a construction job where they can throw on music, or
Exactly.
listen to it. But but yeah, I want that. I like that community feeling of that idea, of sharing songs like on a playlist that goes to my
Oh yeah.
comic or goes it's kind of when we were young, burning CDs or
Oh,
recording
yep.
cassettes and handing them to friends.
For sure, for
Yeah,
sure, and just the love of movies too, because there's so many. The sound of soundtracks just adds so
yeah,
much to whatever you're watching. I tend to think some of the movies that really tug at the heartstrings, or left an impact in some way or another, might not have been the same without whatever score that we were listening to that was
yeah.
going along with that scene.
I I want to bring that back. I want to bring back the soundtrack in the ways that like Angus. You've
Oh
seen
yeah.
the movie Angus?
Yep. Yeah.
That soundtrack just so good. Like
Oh yeah, for sure.
and or Empire Records or any of these like um, I guess they were kind of in that indie comedy, teen comedy
Oh
sphere.
yeah, like
But they all,
singles.
yeah, yeah, they all had amazing soundtracks,
Oh, for sure, for sure.
and it's been a very long time since I've seen a movie where I've heard anything that I was like, this is good. This is
Yeah.
and the scores are one thing, but like
Right, right.
that Napoleon Dynamite at the end when the promise starts to play.
Oh yeah, dude. That's awesome.
And in case you're wondering, yes, Idaho in spots is very much like
Oh, I can imagine.
that.
Uh,
But the end scene of the after credit scene or whatever with the wedding,
yeah.
I was in the theater watching that movie, and my sides hurt, and I was just tears running down my face because my first wedding
Oh,
was
really?
almost exact like the same like aisle down the middle, the
Oh, that's
people on both sides,
awesome, dude. That's hilarious, bro.
just cowboys just
Oh, that's awesome. You're like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, this is my life.
Yeah, I was dying. Except I didn't have anyone as cool as Napoleon to ride up on Napoleon.
That is so funny, dude. Oh my
But
god.
yeah,
What
but
was the
yeah, no, I wanna I love the idea of um I do at some I want to be able to write a movie at some point just for the sake of putting a soundtrack together. I have those songs saved right now on a playlist.
Oh, I could imagine. I could
Yeah.
imagine. The titles for the and it's an old hat now, but this the titles for the chapters were written a long time ago, like 20
Mm,
something years ago. They're all song titles
nice.
for the Tome of Reckoning. The first one is it's the last good day of the year. I can't tell you who the artist is, but the name stuck with me. But then like the second one is what's the second chapter called? Bye for Now is a great Lagwagon song.
Oh,
The third chapter is Dine Alone, and that's a great song by a band called Quicksand. I don't know if you ever listened to them. Quicksand was just a
I think
great band. It was,
I think I actually just a few weeks ago because someone mentioned them on X and I looked them up.
dude, Quicksand is like one of my all-time favorites. It's
Yeah.
Walter Schriffels, who was from Gorilla Biscuits back in the
Mm,
day. He was the guitar player there, but he plays guitar and sings for Quicksand. They released two albums and an EP, and then they broke up, and then they got back together about like 4 years ago, and have put out two albums since, which they're good. Yeah, they're good albums. But you ever hear of Rival Schools?
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the same guy. Walter
Okay.
Schriffels was that was his other band. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that's music and comics just the loves, man. I love those things so much, dude. Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird how they go hand in hand.
It does, man. And the
You
industries
know.
are very similar as well, too, which is something we noticed when we were trying to get jobs back in the day, from playing in bands and trying to get into comics. It's like it's almost like it's running parallel to each other. They're very, at least they used to be very similar
Yeah.
industries.
I think I think they still might be because a lot of musicians nowadays they're not touring. They're vlogging, they're
It's true.
live streaming, and then they're getting their views and their listens the same way that a lot of indie comic makers are getting their names out.
Yeah, I mean that's funny. It is running the same way right now too. That's a trip, dude. I didn't even think about that. Doing their videos and stuff too on YouTube. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
same thing as like the comic pros and whatnot.
yeah. It's a interesting thing to how much this content thing is required nowadays.
It is, dude. It's
Just
something that I don't like. I like this type of stuff. Like we're just shooting the poop. But the whole like just going out and trying to, and I know it's something you need to do, but it's not my thing, not my love, you know what I mean?
yeah,
This I enjoy, like I enjoy like shooting the shit. That's
yeah,
like, because you and I get along. It's nice to finally meet you, and there's other
yeah.
people that I've talked to that are easy to talk to. But just like trying to hawk your stuff is just not my, it's not my cup of tea, dude. You know
Mm,
what I mean? It's
yeah.
like, I don't know, something about it.
Yeah. Well, and just the idea of like a daily stream of like constant what am I supposed to vomit out every day, kind of.
Exactly.
I was telling one of my kids the other day, man, when I was a kid, we'd watch a show and there'd be commercial breaks and then there'd be a whole week and then there'd be a whole season and we still knew who these people were.
Right.
You know, we were, think about, Bruce Willis, who didn't know who Bruce Willis, even if you didn't like him,
Right.
oh, I don't like Bruce Willis's movies or whatever, like everybody knew who he was.
Right. Right.
Nowadays, there are people who pump out stuff every day, 3 times a day, and they have big followings. But outside of that, nobody knows who they are.
100%. 100%. I
You
think
know?
that's like the whole like SoundCloud thing too, where people are like, oh, this. It's weird that, and I think that's because back in the day we only had so many venues to get your stuff out. So, but I sort of miss that. I know it sounds
Yeah.
stupid to say it, but I sort of miss that, like, because everybody had almost like we all had uh, 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 a common thread. Where
Yeah.
nowadays you're like, I don't know what this person's talking about. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
who this is. Like, what? Like, oh, really? I'm like, this person's not famous, and you look, and it's like 13 million followers. You know what I mean? You're like, oh
Yeah.
wow, this person is famous. I'm just out of the loop, I guess. But yeah, it is. It's strange to your point that that, you know, back in the day you would know who this person is, and nowadays somebody could be super famous and I'm like, I have no idea. I don't even know what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well, and we did not only did we know who they were, but we were excited about people's next, album or their next movie,
yep.
or and without them being in our face 3 times a day, posting, you know,
Oh yeah,
uh,
for sure.
that heavy requirement that seems to be on people nowadays who want to break into, whatever industry they're trying to break into.
Right.
Like it's even to the point where, like, I do drywall, and periodically I will watch a drywall video, and then the algorithm thinks I want to see it. Like, bro, I see the shit all day long. I don't need to see it at home. But there are people who do drywall. They post videos 3 times a day,
Yep.
and it's like, to get work.
That's so funny. Are they getting a bunch of views? Is it like a huge following thing, or
um I there's like a couple of them that do. I don't really pay attention. Like I said, I'm not trying to watch that. Like,
that's
I
awesome.
get more than enough of it. But you know, here's the interesting thing. I go to work, and the guys I work with, they come and tell me about the videos
Oh wow, that's funny,
because
dude.
they watch them,
Right.
and it's just it's like, yeah, you guys, you don't. I don't get it. Why are you watching them? It's like,
That's awesome.
guess what you're doing today? The same thing.
Get a camera out, boys. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
But my wife has made mention of that to me, of like, during slow times, the ebb and flow of construction, feast and famine, like, maybe you should, record yourself working and just post shorts and stuff, and get your name out there. I don't I don't like that idea at all.
Right. Right.
But I don't know if it'll work, but it's like, what happened to just, like, I do good work,
Right.
hi, you know?
Yeah.
But that seems to be the way things are going, so it might have.
And like, and that's for everything, which is crazy. Like you said, it's not just like entertainers. It's like, it's every facet of employment that's going along this route of having to be online. Like, I just, you know, it's too much, man.
Yeah,
It's like, I definitely, I don't, I like, like I said, I like, shooting the doo doo, but yeah, I wouldn't want to be online just talking about, and I probably should, but I
yeah,
don't want to be online talking about my book like every day, or you know what I mean, like, I sort of just want people to get it, you know what I mean,
yeah.
and take it from there. But yeah, just the whole social media thing is not it's not my forte, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, this here, this little trial run, and enjoying the conversation. It's
For
great.
sure.
But I want to try to think of some way to, um, you know, uh, and a lot of people just like the conversational thing.
Right.
Joe Rogan's the most popular guy. He's just talking to people. Of course, they are, you know, people that, they're either very famous, or they're very smart, or whatever. Um,
Right.
and we are
I'm
part of
neither.
yeah, and we are part of a niche in a
Yes.
little corner of it.
Yep. So funny, man.
It's the, like, the biggest names that, you and I would be like, oh, how cool, this is a huge name in the comic sphere, and we can literally comment on their thing, and they'll comment back.
Right.
And it's not like, oh, um SZA liked my comment, and that's like the only interaction you ever have with her. Like, we're having conversations with people,
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
and and it's cool, and it's great, but, like, it is so small. It's such a tiny little corner of anything.
Oh yeah, dude.
And how
Smaller.
is it? Is there a way? I would like to think of. I want to be able to think of some sort of, um, programming, some sort of, what's it called? Step by step. Like, here's a show. People can come in and they can, yes, hear about the cool comics coming out of this corner of the world, but also talk about music they love and movies they love and just life experiences that are tied to those things,
Right.
and get people invested in that as
For
well.
sure. I mean, I think it's a good idea, and I think a lot of people would be apt to actually hop on and talk about that type of stuff too. Because um, I like this a lot more than I don't watch the drama stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's just because I got real life drama. You know what I mean? That's why I
Hmm.
enjoy Julie Freeman's show. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Him and Kyle, they're fun because they're just having fun,
Yeah.
shooting the stuff. There's a lot of shows out there like that, so it's
Yeah.
not all. But
one of,
I
one
think,
of the things that really works with them is that Kyle is young,
for sure they play each
and
other.
everything else that we're watching is just a bunch of old farts like us,
Oh,
if
for
not
sure,
older.
for sure, dude, for
You
sure.
know.
And talking about old stuff too,
Yeah.
which look, I love, uh, all that stuff shaped us, but there's still a lot of cool stuff that's coming out right now.
Yeah.
Shows, books that are uh, relative and new. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
like there's so much stuff out there. I'd rather talk about that stuff that I like.
Yeah.
And obviously, I like. I would never hold back if there's something I didn't like, but I think there's so much more stuff to talk about, like you're saying. That would be fun, man. I think a lot of people would love to hop on and actually share their experiences as well.
Yeah. And the nostalgia is great, going back and, especially like, you find someone who has the same
For
taste,
sure.
had the same experiences, and it's fun to reminisce. But like, um, you know, having a new movie come out and having people come out and talk. I have like ideas for segments, like
It's a great
I,
idea. Put
I like the concept of so okay, American Werewolf in London.
one of my favorites. Yep.
Okay, so I want to do a segment in which you try to convince me to love it,
Okay. Oh, so you don't
because
love it?
I watched it and I don't get it. Like,
Oh, really?
I get it in that uh okay, so when I first started watching it, I did not realize it was supposed to be as comedic as it was.
Yes, a black comedy for sure.
I thought it was straight up horror.
Right.
And the first, the opening scenes, right up until he got into London proper, and even a little bit after that, when he met the nurse and stuff. But him and his friend and their interaction and stuff, I really dug. I
Oh yeah.
really liked. But um, after that, it lost me.
Really? Okay.
When I mean, and I'm talking about the instant he just out of the blue goes, Jesus Christ.
Oh, and he's getting eaten.
No, he's sitting there. The nurse is talking to the doctor, and it's the first full moon.
Oh, when
And
he's changing.
yeah, and he's just sitting he's sitting. It cuts to him. He spent the whole day bored.
Right, going outside, getting locked out. The cat, the two
Yeah,
girls.
and then it cuts to the nurse, and she's talking to the little kid or something, and then cuts back to him, and he's just reading, and just like instant, just grabs his collar, Jesus Christ, and
Oh
starts
yeah.
like writhing. And that's I was like, I don't know what's going, and and the transformation I really enjoyed, because it was super super uncomfortable.
Oh, for sure. Body horror. Yeah, to the
Yeah,
max. Yeah.
the sweating. At one point he looks straight into the camera.
Yeah, that part I always used to bother me, but I actually enjoy it now because it's almost like he's looking at you to be like, "You see this? You know what I mean? Like this
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Do
He's
you
he's
feel this pain?
yeah, he's pulling you in, like, making it very personal suddenly.
Yeah, almost like you're in the room watching him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, the Jesus Christ part, I sort of like that because it's like it literally just hit him. So it wasn't like a slow gradual thing. It's just like just an automatic pain that this beast wants to come out. You know what I mean? So for
Yeah,
me, that scene is just like And you didn't like that scene you were saying, or
It was just so jarring to me. The up until that point, even the horror stuff that had come before, you know, the out in the field, the wolf attacks and they shoot the wolf, and
right?
he turns into the guy.
Hmm.
Like all of it was really well done. Like I really liked all of that, but there was a tone to it,
Right.
and at that point, the tone changed to me, and it threw me off.
So, but don't you think that it was still comedic after that though? Because he's like, when he
Well,
steals the boy's balloon, you heard about the balloon thief, and then he
yeah, yeah,
steals the
yeah.
kid's balloon and stuff.
But
Um,
I think that's the thing that threw me off though, was the tone change. Like in the early parts, even the horror stuff was lighter,
right,
and then it became suddenly very like intense, and then it jumped right back into, you know, the zoo scene,
right, right.
and it was such a drastic change of tone, like that it kind of threw me off.
I get that. I think for me, I see it as, so like he spends that whole day waiting to become what he thinks is going to be a werewolf.
Mhm.
So he's waiting for it, and then it strikes out of nowhere. So his guard's been down the whole day, so he thinks it's not going to happen. So then it comes out of nowhere, just like as fast as you could, as you could imagine, where the Jesus Christ scene happens. And then I think it sort of it goes back into that comedic light tone because
Mhm.
he doesn't know he turned into a werewolf at that point. He just feels great. He doesn't know why he feels great. And then it gets dark again later on because he has the dream about his family getting mowed down by the Nazi werewolves. And
Yeah,
then it
yeah.
gets dark for me. I think that levity comes to because not because, but I think I enjoy that levity because he assumes that he's not a werewolf. He just feels good for who knows whatever reason. But then when he starts to realize he is a murderer, and for me, it hits when he calls his family up for that last time,
That
and
I did like that scene.
that for me is when it starts to pick up again, where it's like, okay, it becomes a horror movie again, because then it loses all that comedic stuff. Well, no, the guy's whacking off in the porn place, and all the ghosts are talking to him. But
That, yeah, but
it
like,
is.
and that I to me what it is, I felt like it was, there was a cool horror movie and there was a decent comedy movie, and they got smashed together in a way to me that didn't work quite as well as it could have.
I can get that, and I think for me, it might just be one of those things because I saw it at such an impressionable age.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean? Where it's just like it was that and The Howling when I was a kid, and The Howling's great. Have you seen The Howling?
I haven't seen that.
Howling's good. The effects are really good. Is it Botine that did the effects on The Howling? The guy who did the stuff on The Thing? I can't remember, but I know Baker was supposed to do the effects on The Howling, but got taken off and then did it on American Werewolf in London. But there's still some stuff in The Howling. I mean, the Howling's dated.
Yeah,
But I
that's
would
that is that the one when he's changing, the snout comes out of his mouth?
No, that's actually the Company of Wolves.
Okay.
That's a movie with Little Red Riding Hood, sort of
Mhm.
a play on that. And I think there's a couple of different werewolf stories in that one. No, the change for The Howling is pretty epic, dude. Well, I don't know if you want to spoil it for yourself if you want to watch the movie, but it's the other one that is a classic werewolf movie. But I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I think one of my favorite werewolf movies has the worst werewolf in it, and that's Silver Bullet. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've seen pieces and parts, but yeah, I never saw that either.
Silver Bullet hits for me because it's more about. So I love American Werewolf in London. Don't get me wrong; it's one of my favorites. But I think, like I said, it's because the age I saw it in. But
Mhm.
Silver Bullet for me hits because it's more about a story about a brother and a sister. It's based on a Stephen King book that I have. It's a small illustrated book that he did with Bernie Wrightson called
Right.
the Cycle of the Moon. But if you get a chance, it's especially because if you haven't seen it, it'll take you back to that feeling from when we were kids.
Yeah.
That one hits for me just because of the sibling aspect to it is so strong. The werewolf's not that great looking,
Yeah.
but the story's pretty good. But yeah, I can see where American Werewolf in London is not everybody's cup of tea, and I think you're right. Where if I look at it you know, critically, I think that tone does mix stuff up, because
Yeah,
it's the same reason I didn't really like what's it called? Out for Blood or Cold Blood. It was his vampire movie. John Landis did a vampire movie in the late 80s, early 90s, and tried to achieve that tone, and it didn't really hit for me. So I think I see where you're coming from, because I saw that when I was older, and maybe had I seen American Werewolf in London when I was older, maybe it wouldn't have had the same impact
yeah.
that it did when I was like an 8-year-old kid,
Hmm. Here, another thing about it that I did not. Uh, I'm watching the movie, and the final scenes happening, and he busts out of the theater, and
It bites
the
that guy's head.
and yeah, the whole thing, and he starts running around, and the cars start crashing.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, why is this so familiar? It's the exact same thing that happened in the Blues
It
Brothers.
is, dude. 100%, bro. It's like that's his thing, dude. That's
Yeah,
so funny.
and I was like, and that that kind of tainted the whole thing. I'm not a fan of the Blues Brothers. Like, there is a certain quality of comedy in the '70s that I do not get.
Oh yeah, same here, dude. Blue people love, and like my cousins who are the same age love the Blues Brothers. I think I've maybe seen part of it. Not my thing. You know what I mean? Trading Places. I like Trading Places. That's a good flick. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, like a lot of that comedy stuff didn't hit for me. Maybe just the age I saw it at. Blazing Saddles is great. Young Frankenstein, but yeah, Blues Brothers. Landis's stuff like that. I never really got into. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's another like kind of segment I kind of want to do. Is I really haven't seen a lot of the classic movies that people are supposed to see.
Right. Like
Um,
like which ones?
oh, like I just watched Die Hard for the first time this past month.
Oh, it's funny. What'd you think?
It was fantastic.
It's a great flick. Yeah, it really is.
Like,
Yippee-ki-yay.
yeah, it was. I was surprised. I couldn't tell you why I never watched it before. It's just, it's just one of those things that oh, it's of a certain time, so I probably wouldn't like it.
Right.
Which is weird because that's the time I was there.
Yeah.
I was around. Um, but no, yeah, it was fantastic. Like, there wasn't a wasted moment in that movie. Everything led right to the next scene perfectly well, and wrapped up together perfectly well. It was so good.
That's a great flick, dude. I like showing Jewel some of these older movies she hasn't seen. And
Yeah,
she digs them for the most part. But yeah, we just watched RoboCop for the first time.
I
She's never
watched
seen.
that for the first time.
Oh, dude, what'd you think of that one?
It's amazing.
Yeah, dude, right?
Like,
It's just a
the
great
direct,
satire.
yeah, the and then you see uh I don't know if Frank Miller was writing in that style before RoboCop, or if RoboCop maybe influenced him, but you see Frank Miller in there.
Oh yeah, for
the,
sure.
the talking heads, the advertisements, the everything about it. I was just like, I could see why they got him for the second movie.
It's funny. It's funny. Yeah, it's so many people don't realize he wrote the second flick. Dude. That's so funny. I have to look to see what year that came out, because you might be right where he was influenced by that, or vice versa. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because it was. But that's a great flick, dude. Just everything about it. It's another movie where there's nothing really wasted, and the violence is just so well done. Like
yeah,
almost too gory. Like Jules, like oh my god. But so many great lines, dude. Like you're fired, Dick. Like, and then when he shoots him out the window,
yeah, yeah,
even ending on what's your name, son? Murphy. Like, it's just such a great like.
yeah.
It was the '80s, right? It was an '80s flick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, I was trying to think either '80s or early '90s, but yeah, RoboCop's great. I just showed her They Live. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I did see that one recently too.
Did you like that one?
I did. It was cheesy as hell, but
It
like
is. It is.
in the best way.
100%, dude.
Um,
100%. I love that movie.
and um, it's one of those things where like I watch it and I'm like, I really enjoy this movie, and I want to share this experience. I want to let somebody know how cool this movie is. Who can I let know? Oh, my wife, who doesn't like any of this dumb shit. She doesn't
So
like
funny.
any of this cornball shit that I like.
Oh, really? Oh, that's funny, man.
So I end up like showing her clips of the movie, which does not convince her because I'm showing her the most bizarre parts. You know,
Right.
the never-ending fight scene between Roddy Piper and the black dude
Classic. Yeah,
that
classic,
just
dude.
goes on forever, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly, and she's just looking at me like, "What is wrong with you?"
That's so
You know?
funny. But maybe the rest of it would sell it to her because Jewel, I showed her that movie and she loved it. She's like, dude, that movie was so good, you know. And you know, like you said, it's cheesy, but it's um, just
It's it's got when whoever made it, when they made it, they wanted they there was a desire to tell the story.
oh, for sure. John Carpenter did
You
it, which
know?
is
Oh, really? That's him? Okay, that's
yeah,
cool.
which is so cool because everybody always just equates him with like Halloween, dude, and
Yeah, yeah,
he's got such a great resume of you know, and you look back on it now, it's some of it's cheesy, but cheesy in the best way, you know.
yeah,
Even the ending, just like the good guys, I mean, they win, but they lose. Like I love
yeah,
that aspect of a story where they were willing to, well, at least you know, Roddy was, they were both willing to sacrifice themselves. Just Keith David got smoked on the stairs, which sucks.
yeah,
But yeah, dude, I love that's one of my like as a kid, I love that movie, dude. I still love it today.
yeah.
But yeah, John Carpenter, dude, he's there's a lot of flicks out. Have you ever seen In the Mouth of Madness?
No.
Great Lovecraftian story by John Carpenter. It stars Sam Neill as like a crime noir insurance fraud agent trying to figure out this the disappearance of this author named Sutter Kane, who's essentially like they're standing for Stephen King, who writes horror movies. But that's a good one too, dude. But cheesy, but cheesy in the best way, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Like, you clearly, dig horror movies.
For sure, for sure.
I never really was into them all that much. Like, and part of it had to do with, kind of a sheltered upbringing and whatever. But getting into, I don't even remember why I got introduced to the Evil Dead.
Okay.
But watching the Evil Dead, right, going to the video store, going to Hastings, the most magical place on earth that no one.
Yeah.
But getting Evil Dead and watching that and just being like, yeah, this is awesome. This is really cool. Evil Dead 2, even better.
Right, dude. Just that whole
Um,
comedic like turn Evil Dead
mhm.
2 takes. It's just
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
great, dude.
But there are things like that I just haven't watched, and I want to I want to do a thing where I will watch them, and then people like you who have seen them and love them, I want to talk to you and be like,
I'm down, dude, for sure.
did I like it or didn't I?
Right, right. And the cool thing is like you coming from the same, you know, era that I did,
Mhm.
you might have felt the same way not liking it watching it back then, which is sort of cool because you're still, you know, granted you're looking at it. Well, first of all, I'm jealous because you get to watch a lot of these movies for the first time, which is so cool.
Yeah.
But at the same point in time, you probably would have felt that way back in the day too. You know what I mean? So you're not,
Mhm.
your eyes aren't tainted by like, oh, I just like CGI or like, you know how young kids are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on a lot of those things, dude. Because there's so many flicks that I think if you haven't seen them, yeah, dude, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Because Jewel never watched horror at all. She always assumed horror was just blood and guts
Mhm.
and no story.
Yeah.
And I turned her on to a lot of this stuff where, you know, she's not a horror fan, you know, by any means, but like I'll
Yeah.
show her some of the classics. She's like, damn, that was good. Like I
Yeah.
showed her Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know if you've ever seen the original.
Haven't seen it.
There's nary a drop of blood in that movie, dude. So she was assuming it was just going to be like just total gore and just there's nothing in there. Like there's these new movies out called Terrifier. I don't know if you've ever seen
Yeah.
of those. That doesn't the reason I enjoy Terrifier because it's just I don't like it for the story and some of the like some of the graphic stuff is too much. I can appreciate it for the love of traditional effects, but those
Yeah.
aren't my type of horror movies. Like I love you know a lot of these classic ones and new ones. Like Hereditary is one of my favorite you know modern horror movies. If you haven't seen that one,
Yeah.
it's
I I did catch up on those. Was it Bloomhouse?
No, that one was A24.
A24.
Yeah.
But yeah, those and the Bloomhouse stuff. Uh, what's their
Insidious.
Insidious stories? The one that
Insidious.
I really enjoyed was Malignant.
Oh, you know what's funny, dude? I didn't see that yet. I know what it's about, and it looks like it's off the effing wall. So I definitely want to check it out.
It's
Because I've been spoiled to it a little bit, but I still want to see it. Yeah, that one looked really fun, man. Malignant looked like a cool, fun, like almost like a throwback to the '80s. Uh,
yeah.
uh,
It was definitely that one was fun. It was I came in blind to that, had no idea what it was
oh
about,
man.
and then yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, I want to see Malignant. It was on my radar, and for some reason I just didn't get around to watch. It's probably kids and stuff.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to see that one. Um, yeah, Blumhouse was doing some fun stuff, man. Is Blumhouse the ones doing like the new Wolfman and the Invisible Man? I don't know if they did those because I don't know if you've seen the Invisible Man. That was actually enjoyable. That was a good one too.
Um, did I see that one? I don't know. I may have. Um, I'd have to like watch the trailer to refresh my memory, but
Right.
yeah,
It has that chick who was in a show I've never watched, but it's like the girls in the red dresses with like the white hats, and I think they're like uh I can't remember what the
Handmaiden's
yeah, yeah,
Tale.
yeah, yes, 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 it's like the main chick from that playing like an abused spouse of like a
I I
a genius.
I may have seen it, but I also may be confusing it with another movie um, where there's a lady and she's married to some guy, and I don't know if it's his ghost or if he's invisible, but he's out on the dock at some point, and the footsteps are coming towards her. So I may have seen that, or it may be a different movie. But
Oh yeah, I'm trying to think, that might be mixed up with something else. Yeah. You know, dude, for horror stuff, there's a guy, what the hell's his name? Oh man, Mike Flanagan. He's like the sort of like the new, like not like gross horror, but like he's done a lot of great stuff. Did you see Doctor Sleep? Have you seen that one?
no, that was the sort of sequel to
Yes.
Shining.
Yes. Great movie, dude. Great movie. And Flanagan is just killing it on Netflix. He's done a bunch of stuff. There's a show he does these shows. It's called Midnight Mass on Netflix. Midnight Mass was one of the best. Like he's very Stephen Kingish. Funny
Yeah,
enough, since he's adapting his stuff, where there's but less like the weird stuff that Stephen King does.
yeah,
But very I'm somebody who loves like emotional tales. You know what I mean? Like stuff that's
yeah.
like, you know, you gotta you gotta suck me in with like that emotion stuff. But if you haven't seen Midnight Mass or the first show he did was The Haunting of Hill House, I think it's called.
Um, I I know my wife really dug that one.
Bro,
I,
I love that one, dude. I get teary eyed every time like the last episode airs because it's just like it's a love story. It's a familial love story, and that stuff is what like really like gets me. And that's why Jewel was like, "Oh wow, dude, horror is way more than I thought it was." Like
yeah,
it's not, those are the types of stories that really resonate with me. But if you haven't seen the Haunting of Hill House,
no, no,
bro, you got to watch it with her sometime, dude. It is so good. It is so good, dude. Flanagan's the man. Oh, dude, I would love for you to do this idea you're talking about because I would love to talk to you about all this stuff.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, dude, so insane, dude, so good.
I also want to like I want to do that kind of concept, but not only just like me, but like put it out there on X or whatever, and like are there movies you haven't seen and other people have seen, and that you don't want to see, and we have to convince them to see it and why they should see it.
I think that's a great like bit, dude. I think that's awesome. I think you should do that.
Yeah, and and then once they watch it, have them come back and tell what they thought about it.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, because I'd like to, dude. I would be stoked to hear like hearing your view on American Werewolf in London. It's awesome because everybody's always like, I love it, but they've seen
Yeah.
it when they were so young, dude.
Mhm.
It's like one of those things where it was just. But to hear like, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I see where you're coming from. I didn't think of it
Yeah.
that way because I was so used to it's just a
Yeah.
flick from my youth where yeah,
It's
dude.
like
That's
like when young kids watch, the original Star Wars, and they're like, it's boring. Like, what the
it,
f- are you talking about?
exactly, dude. Exactly. Well, that they are wrong about that.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the movies when I showed my kids. Uh, it took forever to watch it because I would constantly pause it and provide background to scenes.
Oh, that's so
Because
funny, man.
we watched the commentaries,
Yep.
everything. So like, oh, this scene right here, watch this. See that flash? That was a matte painting, and that's a miniature.
So
You
funny, dude.
know?
Dude, the matte paintings on those flicks are
Yeah.
unbelievable, dude. Like the scene where the Emperor shows up, I think it's the second one,
Mhm.
uh, on the Death Star or whatever. And it's all like this. The I never knew for years. Just
Oh,
all the stormtroopers. Yeah,
yeah.
insane, dude. Insane. Just the magic, man.
Yeah, and but like showing them that helped them to appreciate it. But then I come across other people, other kids, their age, and they're all like, "It's boring. Doesn't the effects are lame?" And it's just like there was so much that went into those things. You guys need to just look into it and
Oh,
really.
for sure, for sure. And I think CGI is great nowadays,
Mhm.
but it's still not perfect. I think there is still room for a mix of practical with
Yeah.
CGI. Something about practicality, like that werewolf scene, him changing. If that was
Mhm.
done in CGI, it wouldn't feel like it was in the room with you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? 'Cause I
Mhm.
haven't seen a good CGI transformation in I don't know how long or ever. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
it's all just it just takes you out of it. But I think a mixture of practical with CGI is the way to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a little bit of both. Because there is some stuff that you look back on that change where it looks a little cheesy that
Mhm.
could have been punched up with some CGI. But I think they rely way too much on CGI nowadays. Where I think there's definitely room for a mix of those two. But yeah, the original Star Wars, it's great, dude. The
Yeah. Yeah.
original trilogy, just
Yeah. And there's something about the real weight and of something
oh
happening.
yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't you don't get that anymore. Like RoboCop, you
Yep.
go back to that one. Yes, it was a big claymation thing. The
Ed
whatever.
209.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a big stop motion claymation thing, but it still felt heavy.
Oh, for sure,
It
for sure,
still
dude.
felt menacing as opposed to any of these giant creatures walking toward in a Marvel movie you have some guy and he's 9 foot tall, but it's like he's not there.
No, yeah, yep,
He's not really there.
exact. And you can tell when people are acting to it. Like look, the prequels, even with their flaws, I love them, but everybody's acting so uh unaware to everything that's really reacting around or
Yeah,
happening around them because it wasn't there. Yeah, it was
yeah,
like it was.
which is why the scene with Darth Maul works so well.
Right, because he is there. Exactly.
Yeah.
They can see him and you can feel that. But like, the androids or even the set pieces, it's all CG. So it just looks, when they're reacting to it, it's not, it's just like I said, even with its flaws, I enjoy the prequels better than anything Disney's put out.
Mhm.
That's all fanfic to me. But yeah, there's something about just having something in the room, like you said, there's a weight, there's a weightiness to it
Yeah.
where you can feel it, that you can react to it.
Yeah. And someone's whether it was their hand moving it a centimeter at a time, or it's someone in a suit, or it's
Yep.
someone's got a hand in a puppet, that somebody gave life to it,
Oh, for sure.
like for real life. That post that I posted yesterday about the Mr. Punch comic.
I don't know if I saw that.
You
Oh,
commented it's the
oh,
one
the
about
the Neil Gaiman one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
There's a line in there where part in there where the kid um, is picks up a puppet and sticks his hand inside of a puppet, and Neil Gaiman writes a couple of speech bubbles about it becomes alive. You
Right,
know, the kid knows it's not alive, but there's life to it suddenly,
right.
and that always stuck with me. That whole portion of that comic, and every time I see a practical effect like that, that's what strikes me is that idea of there's life in that,
Oh, for sure, for
you
sure.
know, and that you don't quite get with the most CGI. You know, you get your animated movies, you know, Wall-E and your Pixar stuff or whatever. There's life poured into those because people are really. It's not just an action scene.
Right, right.
You
Yeah, it's the
know,
whole movie, exactly.
yeah, yeah, and you know, it's characters, facial expressions, it's you know everything, but like just the we get the same thing in a video game, you know. We
Right,
get so, but
totally. I know. Uh, I did want to check out the Skeleton Crew.
mhm,
Just because it seemed like they were trying to do something different with Star Wars.
yeah,
Um, haven't watched it yet, but I did see a scene where they used stop motion for some of the monsters, a
mm,
monster or an alien in it, and it looked pretty dang cool. Like the behind the scenes thing, behind the scenes snippet I saw where they used stop motion. And like
yeah.
that's pretty cool, man. There's something to it. There's something about that. Like you said, there's somebody actually giving life to that a centimeter at a time, which is pretty crazy, dude.
Is is that one being headed up by John Favreau again, or is
It's not. It's being directed by what the hell's his name? He's the guy who did the Spider-Man movies, the most recent ones. John Waters, John Watts. I think it's
what?
John Watts.
Yeah,
But it seems like a Goonies in space, which
yeah,
is which is what I think Star Wars should have done if they weren't going to go, and follow what George Lucas's ideas were for the
yeah,
last trilogy, which they should have, because I mean just a mess. But if they weren't going to do that, they should have just done just off the wall stuff that wasn't, tied to the Skywalker saga. Just give us other stories in that galaxy far away and have
yeah,
fun with it. And that's what this story seems like. I haven't watched it yet. I think we've started watching the first episode, but you know how it is with toddlers.
yeah,
You're tired, you got to go to sleep, so you're not watching all that stuff.
yeah,
But I did see that, so I might actually watch that. But I still don't consider any of that stuff canon. It's
yeah.
all it's
It's
lost,
it's
man.
yeah, it's just a separate sci-fi show at that point.
Exactly. It's just weird that you guys would spend, $4 billion on something and not even like try to have a finished script before you started shooting for the whole trilogy. Just like threw it in the air and we're like, oh, we'll just wing it, dude. Like, oh gosh, dude, what a waste. Wasted a lot of talent too. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's also weird that you would see a expanding and growing in popularity extended universe. You know
Oh yeah, the
the
books and the comics and all that stuff back in
book,
the
yeah,
day.
like and just kind of like, you know, Thrawn came in at some point, but like
It's not Thrawn though. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not. Yeah, exactly, dude. It's not Timothy. What was the guy's name that wrote those books? Uh,
Zahn.
yeah, Timothy Zahn. Yeah, dude, those books were awesome. I remember like digging into them when I was younger and just being like, oh, dude, I'm back in this world, and
Yeah,
and the way they took everything, it's just like, oh man, like what are you guys doing, dude? Like
mhm.
you had the road work there for you. Kathleen Kennedy, bro. I can't believe she got handed the keys to the kingdom and just like screwed it all up.
Yeah.
It's insane, insane.
I think one of the things like those books did was you know they built on you know the characters that we love, but gave them family, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the story started, you know, where the first movies were about people coming together to become family. You know,
Right,
Han. You know, yeah, and these ones were about their family. You know, and after you know the prequels or yeah the prequels no sequels the Disney ones,
right.
um, no family.
No,
There was no family, and what family was there?
was broken.
Yeah, and
It
it's just
just
like you
it
don't.
didn't. it didn't match, dude. It didn't match those characters. None of it just it just all felt inauthentic. you know, to your point, yeah, they should have had families. That's what it's about. It's about them fixing the broken families they had before and having these new families that they could, and then not even speaking from like somebody who's a family guy, like just somebody
Mhm.
who likes that aspect of those stories. It's just it was wasted, man. Like to see a Mara Jade or and see the young, Skywalker. Dude, can't believe they really messed that stuff up, dude. It's so insane to me. So insane. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
having I would the Han and Leia storyline in the movies where it's like, oh, they got divorced or whatever, or separated
Ugh,
at some point, and they never really touch on any of that stuff, um, and it kind of doesn't matter almost.
right.
But and then you read the books, and like Thrawn is seducing Leia,
Right.
threatening something, that he's posing a threat, not just a physical, harmful threat, but like to their marriage.
Right. Yeah, dude.
And that sort of dynamic of and then Luke finding love, like all of it was just so much smarter, so
Oh
much
yeah.
more, yeah, well thought out and real, real emotion and stuff.
And if they didn't go that route, which George Lucas's stuff wasn't going to go that route,
Yeah, yeah,
I still would have enjoyed to see because he was the architect, man. You know what I mean? Like without his story, even if it was bad, I would have rather have seen a bad canon story than to see these stories that just were,
yeah,
nobody. They sort of just handed it off to each other like a relay race without any framework, and that's not how you do something for a series of movies that people waited decades to see. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's
yeah,
insane, dude. Insane.
yeah.
Ugh.
Without a framework, and also without there's they may have had a love for the franchise, but in the same way, um, some people have a love for America, which means they like the concept, but they want to completely change it to fit their
Oh,
point of view.
that's funny, man. That's a good way to put it, dude. For
You
sure.
know, when I came up with the stories that I'm writing, I the synopsis. I sent to you and to Perberg and one other person who I don't remember who it was. Um, but you and Narwhal were like, um, oh yeah, this sounds great. And just like general like conversation. The other person I sent it to um, came back with, hey, that's kind of cool, but what if he was a angel of vengeance and then this happened and then that happened and then this happened? It's like at that point, that's your story.
Dude, that's so funny you say that because I know not everybody's gonna like my story, which is fine.
Mhm.
But when people try to be like, dude, this guy, I'm like, no, it's thought out. Like, there's a reason why this guy's not doing this. There's a reason why this guy's not doing that.
Yeah, yeah,
And if I do it this way, it's not my story. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, and not constructive criticism, just like because that's a totally different thing than being like, dude, this guy should do this. This guy, it's your fanfic at that point. You're
yeah.
you're my Kathleen Kennedy. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work out. That's so funny, man.
And that's what it is. It's fan fiction. It's I like what you've done here, but let me tell you what I do.
Exactly, which I get because like I said, there's somebody I like that did that, and I don't take offense to it, but it's just one of the things where it's like that's not the story I'm telling. That's the
Yeah,
story you should tell, and that's great, but it doesn't match with like what's happening in this world. There's certain constraints we have on characters and certain ideas that are there for a reason. Once you change all this stuff, then this person's not that character anymore. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's funny.
And yeah, and it's one thing to have someone come along and say, hey, you should have gone here, you should have gone there, whatever. It's another thing when you hand the keys to three different people
Yes.
and they each do that.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, it showed like somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Oh my god, it's crazy. I mean, I've watched those original trilogies and the prequels numerous times. I've seen the sequels once each, and that was
Yeah.
enough for me. It didn't hit like at all. The first one I enjoyed, but even then, like I was watching it going, oh cool, this is like an Elseworlds tale. Like I still never thought of it being, real Star Wars, but I
Yeah.
still enjoyed it. It was fun, still treaded, some of the same grounds, and I didn't like how they killed off Han, but it was, and even the second one I enjoyed for what it was. There was a lot of dumb stuff in it.
Hmm.
But none of it was cohesive. It all seemed like one of those dark horse like what if stories. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is like that's not what you want when you're waiting 20 years to see, or longer than 20 years. What was it? It was 83 was the last one. So damn, a long
Yeah.
time, almost 40 years to wait for these flicks to come out and just be
Yeah.
just what they were, dude. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a bummer. Jewel hates Star Wars, so she couldn't care less. I could never talk to her about this stuff. So it's
Yeah.
nice to nerd out with this with you because she's like, I don't want to talk about those laser sword dorks.
I remember a friend of mine who he didn't like any sort of fantastical, whatever. His movies were like, it was just like straight like um, uh, crime drama, and those are fine and stuff. But you get into fantasy, and he just, didn't care.
That's
Why?
funny.
Finding Nemo. Why would I care about a fish? It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. It's not a fish. It's like it's a human personality. It's whatever. But
Yeah, for sure.
and his thing was like, I don't, why would I want to watch that? It's just like wizards in space. Why wouldn't you want to? Why
Yeah, dude,
wouldn't you?
you just sold me on that tagline, dude. Wizards in space. Yeah, I'm there, dude.
This is
Well,
an insane thing to not want to see.
and that goes back to when Jewel didn't want to watch horror because she just thought it was this and that. It's not about it's that's the dressing that makes it so much fun, but it's the interpersonal, turmoil and
Yeah,
relationships and drama that sells it. Because if it was just wizards in space, we wouldn't be talking about it
yeah,
40 years afterwards. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
it's so much more than that, dude. It's a lot of these stories they resonate not because of the fantastical elements that that does sell it. But if it was just those elements without any of the heart and the character, then nobody would be talking about these things for
yeah,
decades after they were put out, man. It's
yeah,
insane.
no doubt. Yeah, that's and one of the things that I wanted, with the like your book, I really like your interaction with your characters and stuff. It's I've mentioned it before online. The writing really does really hit me well with your
Ah,
books.
dude, thank you, man. That means a lot, dude. Because like, I really, I read this stuff, before I put it out, and all the stuff that I've written that I just, and I'm not formally trained or
Yeah.
any of that stuff. I just, I wanted to hit with somebody, dude. So that means a lot to hear that, brother. I appreciate that.
Well, it's one of those things where um, when I read them, I really understood where you were coming from almost immediately,
Awesome.
like what influences you were coming into it, and like what the overall tone you meant to give was,
Right.
and I think one of the things that happens with people when they're reading comics, it's kind of like when I watched American Werewolf in London. I
Right.
didn't know what to expect for tone,
Right.
and a lot of people when they're reading comics, they expect certain tones,
Right.
I think people need to come in knowing kind of what the genre is to really to really enjoy them.
Right.
Like what's the one that just came out? It was the last one of the last review videos I did. The Jupiter.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Have you read that one yet?
I haven't. I want to see it. The book looks great.
It's weird, dude. It's
Really.
weird
Is it weird like in a good way or
in a very good way.
oh
It's
that's
weird.
awesome.
So it's
I like
um
weird.
Yeah, so like um boy, it's like I said in the review, it's like, Far Side comics
Right.
kind of mixed with Monty Python, but very philosophical,
Oh,
very
cool, man.
eccentric. The main story, everything ties together. So there's a main story, there's short comic strips like one panel style, there's a short comic, and then there's a like an ad on the back cover. All of it ties together, even the ad
That's
um,
awesome, dude. That's
ties,
cool.
yeah, ties in with the main story. But it's weird, and I laughed out loud a couple times. But like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to read that and just be like, "What the hell am I reading?" You know. But if you don't, if you're not conversant in like a variety of genres,
Right.
a lot of times things don't hit. And I want to with my like videos and stuff, make sure people know, hey, this is what you're gonna like expect, so how to enjoy the books.
Right. Which, dude, your reviews are awesome, by the way. I know I've told you
Like,
before, dude, but they're the right length. They're produced really well. You're concise and you're entertaining to listen to. Yeah, those reviews are gonna catch on, I think, at some point, dude, because they're that's what I'm looking for when I want to see a review. I don't want to see somebody talking for like 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's almost like it's I'm cool with in-depth stuff, like if it's like
Mhm.
going into, but your stuff just gets to the point. It lets you know what it is. It's fun to watch. So I hopefully uh I mean, how are the views on those things?
um so I throw them up on all three, so YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And YouTube and Instagram, like, almost nothing.
Really?
For some reason, one of them on YouTube got like 700 views out of the blue.
Oh wow.
But on TikTok, so it's all algorithm stuff,
Yeah, I
you know,
hate it. I know.
and yeah, so what TikTok does is about 200, 250, they shut you down.
Really?
Yeah, until you can kind of get into a rhythm of. So I was like, every week I was posting at one point I did two a week. And then it kind of kicked up from there, and now I'm in the roughly 600 to 700 cap off. You
Oh
have
wow.
to you have to kind of break out of that too.
Dude, I hate this whole algorithm thing because it feels
Mhm.
like that whole grassroots way of finding things doesn't happen naturally. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it doesn't, and it's a
Mhm.
shame because they're probably holding some really great creative minds back by doing that. I think.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That
Definitely are.
sucks. That sucks.
Yeah. I mean, even with the stuff like on TikTok, the people that I follow, I almost never see their stuff pop up on my for you page.
Right.
Like, just naturally, if I go over to the following tab, I can see them, but just coming across naturally, it doesn't happen.
That sucks. Even
Yeah.
on X, dude, like there's people I follow that should be showing up in my
Hmm.
my for you stuff that I actually have to go and look for them to see
Yeah.
what they're posting. And dude, they'll have like 20 or 30 posts that I haven't seen. And
Hmm.
it's like it sucks because it's like I shouldn't have to look for that. It should be in my for you for me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everybody that I follow. And
Hmm.
it's just weird that it just does that to some people. And the stuff that's not popping up isn't some taboo or risque or whatever. It's just normal, like cool posts that I'd like to see that I just don't see unless I search for these people now, which sort of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing that the little niche we're in is what it is, because if I don't see it, someone else might repost it,
Exactly. Yep.
which is cool. But at the same time, it's like, I forgot, I didn't know, I went on to another portion, and they have the for you and the following,
Right.
or
No, you're right. Yeah. Following
yeah.
and then for you. Or
And
no.
so
Is it? Yeah, it's
However,
following. Yeah, I think it's following it for you, and the following it doesn't show up all the time, dude. It's crazy.
yeah,
Trying to see what it is.
yeah, but I switched over to what it normally is from what it normally is to the other one, and um, it's like, oh hey, look, there's like three guys on here I followed and completely forgot about because they never show up.
So weird, dude. Yeah, I don't get that, man. It's yeah, for on me, like I'm looking at my TV right now because I have my PC set up to my TV. Yeah, the following sometimes won't show people that I follow, and it's like I have to like literally look in my follow section to see what they're doing, and it's just like,
Yeah,
yeah, the algorithm. Yeah, I'm not a fan of all that stuff, dude, at all.
yeah,
At all. It's because it's who knows how you break it and break through it, and there's some people that are doing some really cool stuff out there that I think should be getting way more views. Yourself, a couple other guys too, where I'm like, I can't believe they're not really getting, you
yeah,
know, uh, just eyes on their stuff, dude. It's a bummer.
yeah. And it sucks a lot because uh, people, you know, one of the things that I like about it is you and other guys and to a small extent with my writing, but we're you're chasing a thing that we all want to chase, right?
Right, right,
We all want, there's been a couple of posts lately like, why do you think it is that everyone in this realm wants to be a creator too? Because we always have.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Like from the moment we opened up that comic, we're like, I want to do this.
Oh, of course, dude. Yeah,
But and but like it's something that we all want to do, and so I like um promoting that. I want people to continue to strive for it, even when a book maybe isn't that great. I try to be as positive as I can about it, right?
right.
um uh there are a couple that I'm not going to talk about because I can't come up with something positive.
Which is nice too, because it's like you're not because there's nothing wrong with saying you don't like something, but
Yeah,
but to your point, like if I can't, it's like the old, if you can't say anything nice, don't say
yeah,
anything at all. It's like
yeah,
it'll find its niche.
yeah, yeah. And
Market
I
or
want
it
to be
won't.
able to. I wish I was able to like reach out to them and just be like, hey, here's some things I saw in your book, but I don't know how people take stuff.
Right,
Um, uh, but where was I going with all that? Just the idea of building everyone up. Like getting everyone, even when it's not great, not saying that this is garbage, this is shit, you should stop. But
right,
like you're doing something good, keep going because it might click for the next one.
right. No, 100%, dude. Yeah,
You know,
nobody's not everybody comes out of the gate, I don't know sports terms, but I guess in batting 1,000, that's good, I think.
yeah,
But it's one of those things where you can find your stride. It might not be your
Mhm.
first, your first go at it, during your first go at it, but you might find that stride, and you might be killing it later on. You know what I mean? So, and I think it's that positivity. I think just goes a long way too, dude. Like I try to be positive on here, just because it's the negativity. I know that garners a lot of attention, but that's just not who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, dude, I can be a negative person. Don't get me wrong. Like we were talking earlier, talking about talking smack to the crowds and whatnot. But in general, I like to be positive. It's just one of
yeah,
those things where I think that's just it's just the type of person I am,
yeah, yeah,
and I think it's just a better, there's a lot of people I want to see succeed,
yeah,
and if they do, I feel like, I'm happy for them. I'm not one of those guys who's a jealous dude, like at
yeah,
all. So if somebody that I know succeeds, or somebody, adjacent succeeds, I'm stoked. It's awesome.
yeah,
It's like, Narwhal with his Mark Miller stuff. That's awesome, dude. I'm so
yeah,
stoked, that hopefully he can get a TV deal out of it. You know what I mean? That,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
down the line, and make some good money, dude. And Julius Freeman's new books that are out, I haven't had a chance to read them yet. They showed up.
yeah.
um
I'm
but
still waiting on mine. My uh what's the one? Reset Protocol.
yes, yep.
I'm still waiting on that one. I'm one of the guys he was talking about not filling out the survey.
I hate that part of Kickstarter. It makes no sense whatsoever. That's what I do like about Indiegogo and Fund My Comic is that you have the address as soon as you sign up. So it's like you don't have to like sit here and like try to like. I don't get that whole aspect of
Yeah,
Kickstarter where it does that because like not everybody's checking their email all the time, dude, and that can get
yeah.
lost amongst like hundreds. If you're getting hundreds of emails,
Hmm.
you're not going to see that shit, you know. And it's like
Yeah,
then you're like, oh, then this poor guy's waiting on somebody to write back about where their address is. It sort of sucks, dude.
yeah,
But yeah, I started reading Reset Protocol, and I need to finish it. I mean, it's been like I told you, hectic
yeah.
recently. I haven't been in a good mindset, but I'm gonna get to read that, and I also got his other one,
Visual.
Vigilant Fury,
Yeah.
and then I have John's book. What is that one called? The superhero one.
What is that called? With the patriarch.
Yeah. Yes. I got that one. I got Arvid's book, which I read that one. It's a short read, but it's good.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
I don't know.
beautiful too.
Oh, dude, great, dude. Oren
Gorgeous.
killed it on that book, dude. It's just like it looks like an illustrated like Lord of the Rings.
Hmm.
Uh, like the Bank and Rast stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the story's great. It's short, but I know Arvid's gonna kill it. He killed it on the story itself. It's got me intrigued. The magic system seems like it's unique to itself. I'm
Hmm.
trying to think what else I got. Did I get anything else recently? I'm waiting on Brian Bow's Wolf and Batsy. I think I got that coming as well. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff I need to read, which I think, like I said, after I read your second issue tomorrow, or at least part of it, I'm gonna start reading some of the other comic stuff and
Yeah,
working on my commission stuff for uh, uh, Galaxy Memorial Park,
yeah.
which has been
How's
a
that? How's that? Versus doing your own stuff. How is it doing someone else's like script?
it's cool. I will say I like it because he has the panels laid out. Uh, so when I write, I just write like a script, like a movie,
Mhm.
and then just like sort of just But then again, it's my own story, so it's easy to like move stuff around. But it's been fun, dude. The story's fun. I haven't really messed around with superhero stuff in ages. It's confined to a small set piece.
Yeah,
But he's giving me a lot of leeway to do some fun stuff. So I'm having a blast. I'm just doing pencils on it, and Levi Skeen is going to be doing the inks. So I'm really excited to see that because he's a great artist in his own right. Um, uh, 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 but a really an amazing inker too. So I'm excited to see the collaborative spirit because I haven't had that in a comic in a while. I mean, I have it with Jewel doing the colors
yeah.
and Davison doing the letters, but I'm doing the pencils and inks. So it's gonna be sort of cool to see somebody else's input on those lines. But it's been fun, dude. Yeah, it's been really fun.
That's cool. Yeah, no, every time I see in a live stream in the chat, someone says, "Oh, look, hey Levi," or I see his name pop up on X or whatever, my heart jumps a little bit because my real name's Levi.
Yeah, no, yep.
And I'm like, and it really wasn't a very common name growing
Right,
up. So
no.
every time it pops up, I'm like, they're talking about me.
You're like, oh, dude,
Like, how did they know?
how do they know that, dude? That's so funny. He's I don't know if you talked to him at all on X, but super cool dude, another positive guy in the scene, and and an old not old as an old, but an old pro too. He's done like a lot of pro work
Oh,
in the comic industry too. He's inked over some great artists, and then his own pencils and stuff that he's doing on Galaxy Memorial Park looks great too, man. It's
yeah.
insane.
Um, Boy, we're coming up on what over there? 118 for you?
It is. I'm probably gonna want to hit the sack.
Yeah,
What time is it over there for you? Like what, 12?
11:18.
Oh damn, you're lucky, dude. Time traveling. I wish it was 11:18 right now.
I
Uh
mean, I'll tell you this: my bedtime's usually about 8:30. So
oh yeah, because you get up early, don't you?
yeah, we my son has to be ready for school by 6:30, and my
Wow.
wife and I like to do a little workout beforehand. So
Oh, that's
we're up
awesome.
at like 4:30 ish.
Oh, dang, dude, I'm keeping you up tonight, bro.
Oh, it's the weekends. The weekends spent ruining any workout that I
Oh, that's
did.
awesome. Well, that's what you work out during the week for, man. I need to get back on that train, bro. I put on some LBs, brother. Jewel is like still in shape and running and doing all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, dude, I gotta get back into it. I'm still a strong dude, but I can't be getting any fatter at this age, brother. It's not good.
No,
Um,
I've
but
I've jumped up probably 20 pounds in the past year or so.
It's the holidays though, and all that other stuff, man. Yeah, you look good though. You hold it well, bro.
Oh,
Um,
thank
uh,
you.
I'm 5'10" and I'm hitting what like 230 right now. So I actually I hold it pretty well too. I have a wide frame, but it's just not going to do me any favor on my knees the older I get. So I don't want to
Yeah,
be one of those dudes. But yeah, I need to start doing that stuff too, man, because it's time to get back into shape. I need to get back to my 190.
I know when I need to, when I start to snore again.
Dude, I said the same thing. Yes, I do it, dude. If I'm snoring, I know I'm fat. And right now, I am snoring, bro. Nobody's sleeping in this house, dude. Yeah, it's so funny you said that, dude. That's how I am. If I snore, I know I'm overweight because it's just all that weight pushing on the chest. It's like, oh man, oh my god, dude, insane.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then the next step is waking up with gasping for
I'm gonna have to look like a fighter pilot pretty soon,
breath.
wearing
But
those what is it that what is it called? Those masks you got to wear for
CPAP.
sleep apnea. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I tell my wife, like you're getting ready for some sexy man here, some CPAP going on.
Oh my god, you should get a helmet or I'll get a helmet that says Maverick when I
Yeah.
go to sleep. Try to get those juices flowing.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny, dude. Well, I'm glad we did this, brother.
Yeah. I'm gonna post it, I guess, and maybe I'll try to cut it up into chunks and do like set it out, little chunks here and there throughout the week.
That's awesome.
Um, here's my something I thought of today, like ultimate goal. Have a show, and I just want to call it this whole thing content.
That's a good idea.
And then the beginning of it, I want eventually to get someone to write and perform a little punk rock song to an animation that the whole thing's just about content. You need it. Content. It's all it's like it's all around like content, content, content.
Dude, that's a
And
great idea, dude.
the very last part will just have someone vomiting the word content.
That's a great idea, dude. I think it's a funny play on well, first of all, like just everybody's doing these things to try to have some cool name to it, but it literally is just content. And having a punk
Mhm.
rock song, you already got me sold on that, dude. That's awesome.
But yeah, if well, I'm gonna hit end record here, but we'll do that. See everyone, I guess. But
Later, guys.